What I want, and just for the organization in general, is a mesh of old and new. Old football discipline, modern processes, modern analytics, statistics, and the rest of that. But I respect old school discipline too. I mean, listen, I was with a team that was the epitome of, in Pittsburgh, with the epitome of old school discipline. So I want to see that brought in. I want to see that mesh. And what I want to have more than anything, and you can appreciate this because you've seen it on the business side, I want to put the best people in the best positions to be successful. In coaching positions, eventually, and I want those coaches to put our players on the field in the best positions to be successful, period.
Much later.
In terms of playoffs, we'll reach that, when we're ready. But I think right now we're focused on today, tomorrow, and just trying to get better as a team and as an organization.
Meanwhile,
was that a middle schooler right here? Just kidding. I know it was Bryce Young in that video. Damn, he's so small. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Bryce Young embarrassing himself in a viral training camp video. The Panthers last season went 2-15 as Bryce Young had a horrible rookie season. The Panthers are now even lowering the standard of what success looks like for this upcoming season. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Will Bryce Young end up being a draft bust? Of course Bryce Young is going to end up being a draft bust. Are you kidding me? Is this even a real question? Bryce Young is so small in there. This guy is 5'10" and 204 pounds. To put that into context, I'm 5'10" and 185 pounds. That means Bryce Young is essentially a bigger version of myself. And they got this guy playing quarterback in the National Football League at that size. And I understand that smaller quarterbacks can succeed at the NFL level, but those are very few and far in between. Those are extreme exceptions to the rule. I know Bryce Young fanboys are going to point to Drew Brees and Russell Wilson as success stories of what small quarterbacks look like, but those guys are rarities in and of itself. The only thing that Bryce Young does really well is throwing anticipation. At least Bryce Young can understand opposing defenses and being able to anticipate when receivers are covered, which therefore contributes to his low interception numbers. That being said though, Bryce Young simply does not have NFL caliber arm strength, and more importantly, Bryce Young is being set up for failure on the Carolina Panthers. I don't blame Bryce Young completely for the failures of the Carolina Panthers. I blame Bryce Young for a lot of it, but here's the thing. The Carolina Panthers, for the most part, were failures prior to Bryce Young coming into the organization as the #1 overall draft pick. Of course, Bryce Young is going to end up being a draft bust. I think the Carolina Panthers set Bryce Young up for failure because you look at the ownership and how they are so unstable in that organization all the time. They're changing coaches every year. You look at how David Tepper, he effectively ruined the Carolina Panthers, and how the Carolina Panthers were once a proud franchise and now they're known as the Cleveland Browns of the South, and you can thank David Tepper for that. And the funny thing about David Tepper is he's actually from the Pittsburgh Steelers area. David Tepper used to be a minority owner of one of the most stable franchises in the NFL, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers, but obviously David Tepper learned nothing from the Steelers because he has done nothing but create chaos year after year after year, and he has changed coaches year after year after year. You look at how the guy has gone through several head coaches as of late, and how the Panthers have had losing season year after year after year. When David Tepper came to the Carolina Panthers, what did the guy promise? He promised that he would break the cycle of mediocrity. Well, I'll tell you this, David Tepper, you certainly broke the cycle of mediocrity. Now you created the cycle of losing seasons all the time. I've never wanted mediocrity so bad in the organization. Look, I'm not saying that mediocrity is a good thing to have in the National Football League, but compare that to what the Panthers have been doing the last 6 years under David Tepper's ownership. Hell yeah, I would rather take mediocrity than being trashed all the time. David Tepper has ruined the Panthers organization, and you know what David Tepper also did? He told the Carolina Panthers to draft Bryce Young #1 overall. Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud as his quarterback, and we were going to get CJ Stroud until David Tepper interfered with football operations and told all the scouts and all the coaches, take Bryce Young, so I can be satisfied with my own ego. I want to be the guy that takes Bryce Young with the #1 overall pick because I want to create history, and look at where that history got us. Bryce Young had the worst season in NFL history for a rookie since Josh Rosen. In a league where rookie quarterbacks are set up for success more than ever, Bryce Young has struggled mightily. I know Bryce Young is also set up for failure on the Carolina Panthers too because the weapons are not good. When Adam Thielen is your #1 wide receiver, your wide receiver room is not very good whatsoever. And I understand that the Carolina Panthers trade for Diontae Johnson and drafted Xavier Legette with their first-round draft pick. The Carolina Panthers are still not exactly setting Bryce Young up for success whatsoever because they keep changing coaches all the time. They keep changing the roster all the time. And quite frankly, the wide receivers for the Panthers are still not that good. I'm not that high on Xavier Legette. I don't think Xavier Legette is a great prospect to have at the wide receiver position. I really think he's Jonathan Mingo 2.0, and taking Diontae Johnson via trade was a bad trade for the Carolina Panthers. Yes, they didn't necessarily give up a lot to get Diontae Johnson, but I'm not a big fan of Diontae Johnson's game. And also look at how Pittsburgh receivers do after they leave the Steelers. Their production always falls off all the time, with Chase Claypool being the most recent example of a former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver going to another team and having his production drop immediately. I could see chemistry issues arising all season long with Bryce Young at the quarterback position, throwing the football to Diontae Johnson. And you guys also have to remember that Xavier Legette struggles to get separation a lot, which means that the Carolina Panthers are going to be in major trouble next year. I don't really see the future of the Carolina Panthers being bright whatsoever. I think Bryce Young is still going to suck at the quarterback position. Now, granted, he's going to play better than he did last season for the Carolina Panthers, but quite frankly, that doesn't mean shit to me when you were quite awful at the quarterback position last year. You look at how Bryce Young turned it over more often than not. Yes, he only threw 10 interceptions, but he also had 6 fumbles lost, which really means he had 16 turnovers in 16 games. That's an average of 1 turnover a game. That's not going to cut it at the NFL level. And more importantly, Bryce Young only threw 11 touchdown passes while he didn't even run for a single touchdown. That tells me that Bryce Young was turning over the football while not really producing anything positive on the offensive end of the field as well, which is a major problem to have. So therefore, yes, Bryce Young is going to be a draft bust. Are the Carolina Panthers setting him up for failure? Yes. Is Bryce Young also a failure because he lacks NFL caliber arm strength? Yes, Bryce Young doesn't really have an arm. His accuracy is vastly overrated. His footwork skills are pretty bad as well. And I don't want to hear the fact that Bryce Young is playing behind a bad offensive line, because Cam Newton had to play behind a bad offensive line too. And when Cam Newton was completing 59% of his passes, did the media give Cam Newton a pass for having Kelvin Benjamin as his wide receiver 1? Hell no, they didn't. They ripped Cam Newton to shreds. They destroyed that man after every game. They said Cam Newton had to improve his footwork. They said that Cam Newton had to improve his mechanics, and they talked to Cam Newton like he was a dog. But what did Cam Newton do? He took it professional and he improved his game to the best of his abilities. That's why he was able to become an MVP winner. But with Bryce Young, oh, we have to treat him nicely. Oh, Adam Thielen is his wide receiver 1. Oh, the offensive line is so bad. Oh, Frank Reich doesn't really want Bryce Young. Oh, the coaching staff of Bryce Young is failing him. And although all of those things are certainly true, it still doesn't excuse Bryce Young's shortcomings. You're a #1 overall pick. Start playing like a #1 overall pick for once. And Bryce Young hasn't done that nearly often enough at the NFL level. I don't think Bryce Young has really played great football at the NFL level. What could Bryce Young have done more his rookie year? Not fumble the damn ball. The guy fumbled the ball 6 times last year, which is a hell of a lot of fumbles for a quarterback to have at the NFL level. You also have to remember that Bryce Young is playing in the modern NFL, where quarterbacks are essentially not getting hit all that often. So to fumble the ball 6 times in a season, that's a lot of fumbles to have at the quarterback position. Bryce Young needs to improve his game tremendously, because if not, he's going to be a draft bust. You look at that lack of size and you look at the lack of arm strength and how his accuracy is not really good whatsoever. There really is nothing good about Bryce Young's abilities whatsoever at the NFL level. He doesn't have elite traits in a lot of areas. Therefore, he's going to be a draft bust. And you also have to remember that the Carolina Panthers are setting him up for failure because of bad ownership. Therefore, the answer to this question is rather obvious. Yes, Bryce Young is going to be a draft bust. There's no ifs and buts about that. I know that for a fact. The guy is going to be an absolute bum at the NFL level, and he's going to continue being trash at the NFL level. So that is why Bryce Young will end up being a draft bust, as the Panthers are also setting Bryce Young up for failure. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.